All right, today is subtract whole numbers. This is chapter 2, lesson 6. I'm going to be going over the introduction and a few independent practice problems. And your homework assignment is page 97 and 98. So subtracting whole numbers can be similar to adding whole numbers because we often need to regroup. And in subtraction, we are learning and trying to remind ourselves that if that top number, the number that you're starting with in the subtraction problem, is, and some of those digits are smaller than the digits on the bottom, or what you're taking away from what you start with, you need to regroup. You got to borrow. So that is the trick to subtraction, and really understanding what subtraction is. Addition, you're adding more. Subtracting, you're starting with a certain amount and you are taking away from that while following the rule of you cannot take away more than what you've started with. And that becomes apparent when we are starting to subtract in the ones and the tens and the hundreds, the thousands, and so on. And when those digits on top are smaller than the digits on the bottom, we've got to regroup. So looking here, very similar to the steps of addition, where you start in the ones, then you move over to the tens, you go over to the hundreds, you go to the thousands, and in the fourth grade, we go beyond. We go into the 10,000s place, okay, and we go all the way to the 100,000s as well. Okay, so although the numbers are getting bigger, the subtraction and the patterns that we are using for subtraction are still the same. The rules are still the same. So what I want to do is inspire you to rewrite the problems that you're being asked to do. What I would like you to do is have a piece of notebook paper so that you can fold it into eighths and start by folding long ways, right? Then fold upwards and fold up again. And it wasn't perfect, but it will make 8 boxes. Kids, one of the best things you can do when watching a tutorial is to pause right now and do exactly what I just did. When you are completing problems, it's great to pause and then complete the problem and then hit play and check to see if you got it correct. Don't just sit here and watch the tutorial or zone out on the tutorial while doing something else. This tutorial really is a learning tool. So I'm going to rewrite a couple of these problems. We can go ahead and start with, let's see, what do we got here? Looking for a helpful problem. Maybe I can go back. A helpful problem would be one that I do not need to borrow, but they're going to throw us right into the wolf. And so let's do it. Let's meet the challenge. Let's go on ahead and we can complete number 3. Okay. Why are we rewriting these numbers? Well, I want you to rewrite these numbers because you can rewrite them bigger. Okay, 8,845 minus 627. Okay, and rewriting it bigger gives you more room and will help us be organized. So as we start subtracting, we must start with the ones, then we'll make our way to the tens and so on. The second step here is to pay attention to your top digits. Okay, we have a 5, a 4, an 8, and an 8. the 5 compared to the digit underneath it, 7, it's smaller. I'm going to have to regroup. The 4 here is larger than the 2 on the bottom. No biggie. The 8 here is larger than the 6 on the bottom. No biggie. We do not need to regroup. And there's a 0 here underneath this 8. So it looks like the ones place is the only place that we are going to need to regroup. Well, let us go over to the tens place, and we're going to borrow one of those tens, okay? And we're going to give it to the ones. We're not changing the amount of the number. The number's not changing at all. We're just regrouping the numbers so that it makes it possible to subtract. So this becomes 3 tens, and if I give that 1 10 over here to this 5, that 5 becomes a 15, and now I can subtract. 15 minus 7 is 8. 3 minus 2 is 1. 8 minus 6 is 2. 8 minus 0 is 8, and the comma goes in between my periods, so ones, tens, hundreds, comma, 1,000s place. 8,218. That was number 3. And then once you've gone in and you've solved it on your graph paper, just go ahead and write your answer on the line. Okay. Let's come on down to number 8. Looking at number 8, this is a 4th grade subtraction problem. 93,458 minus 21,649. So what we will do is rewrite the problem. And pause the video right here so that you have a chance to rewrite the problem, because I may be writing faster than you. 93,458 and 21,649. Do a little subtraction. Before you start going into it, why not just scan? Where are you going to need to borrow in this problem? Okay, the 8 is smaller than the 9, so you know you're going to have to borrow there. The 5 is larger than the 4. No big. Keep on going. The 4 is smaller than the 6. You know you're going to have to borrow in the hundreds place. The 3 is larger than the 1, and the 9 is larger than the 2. And so here we have 2 place value positions that we're going to need to borrow for. And so here in the ones place, we'll go to the tens. And here in the hundreds place, we'll borrow from the thousands. Okay? So if I borrow 1 10 from 5 tens, I'm left with 4 tens. And giving a 10 to that 8 makes this an 18. And I have one more place I need to borrow. Looking over here, I have a 4, smaller than the 6, so I'm going to borrow from the 1,000s place. Okay. If I borrow 1,000 from 3,000, I have 2,000. And then I can regroup that 1,000 over here and make it 14 100s. If I have 14 hundreds, I have 1,400. Right? The 1,000 from the 3 and the 400 from the value of the 4, 1,400. 14 hundreds minus 6 is going to give us 8. Okay, so I can do that. And now I am ready to subtract. So 18 minus 9, that's a double. 9. 4 minus 4 is 0. 14 minus 6, as I just said, is 8. Go ahead and put our comma now. Ones, tens, hundreds, comma. 2 minus 1 is 1, and 9 minus 2 is 7. So if I started with 93,458 something or others, jelly beans, subscribers, right, on my YouTube channel, and I told a really, really bad joke, just nobody laughed, I lost 21,649 of my subscribers on my YouTube channel because of that joke. So now I only have 71,809 subscribers. So when you're looking at subtraction, what's your starting point, right? It's 93,458, right? And what are we going to take away from it? 21,649. And even though in here we had to borrow 93,458 is still larger than 21,649. It's just that some of the digits in the place value positions are larger than others. So that's why it makes it necessary to regroup. Let's do one more of these. We're going to do another fourth grade subtraction problem, and we are going to be looking here at number 7. But before I write that down, I'll make sure I remember to put my answer, 71,809, right there. Okay. You can see as I go to write that answer, like it's really hard to write your answer, okay, under these place value positions. It's so small. So please rewrite the problems to give yourself a fair chance of staying organized. Number 7, 847,311, and then 562,530. Now we can subtract. Where are we going to need to regroup? The 1 is larger than the 0. The 1 is less than the 3 here in the tens place. Put a little check right here. Just let me know. Okay. Notating somehow where you need to borrow keeps you organized. The 3 is less than the 5. Going to have to borrow. The 7 is greater than the 2. No biggie. The 4 is less than the 6. Going to have to borrow from there. And the 8 is greater than the 5. So here, 3 place value positions out of the 6 total in this number. It's not so bad, okay? So looking at this ones place here, and starting in ones place, we don't need to borrow. We can just go ahead and subtract. 1 minus 0 is 1. But here we cannot borrow 1, or we cannot take 3 from 1. And so let's come on over here and we'll borrow from the hundreds, even though that digit in the hundreds place is smaller than what's underneath it. Right, we're still going to borrow from it. We'll turn that into a 2. The tens place becomes an 11. The 2 now is certainly smaller than this 5, so we're going to come on over to our 7. Borrow 1,000 from our 7,000. That leaves us with 6,000. We'll give that 1,000 over here to the hundreds, and now instead of 2 hundreds, we have 12 hundreds, which is 1,200, 1,200. Now we can subtract 12 minus 5. We can do 6 minus 2, but we cannot do 4 minus 6, so we're going to borrow from the 100,000s. The 100,000s becomes a 7, 100,000, and the 10,000s place becomes a 3, or 30,000. I'm sorry, 14,000. I'm now borrowing from that, adding to it 14. So now I can subtract. 11 minus 3 gets me to 8. 12 minus 5 gets me to 7. 6 minus 2 to 4. 14 minus 6 gets me to 8. And 7 minus 5 is 2. So if I start with 847,311 somethings, and I take 562,530 of them away from that number, I end up with a total of 284,781. All right. Subtraction with regrouping, also known as borrowing, in order to make sure the digits on top are larger than the digits on the bottom. That's our goal.